Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Christian Sands, and welcome to another episode of Welcome to the Sands Box. Today's episode I'm so excited about because I get to interview one of my favorite artists in the world, my new favorite artist in the world, too, because I haven't heard her in a long time, and I just started checking out her stuff, and it's remarkable. Some people have called her a conceptualist. Some people have called her a poet. Some people have called her the voice of the people. I mean, she is all of that and then some. I am so proud of her because I got to check out, her music and what she's been working on from the beginning. And I'm really excited to bring her on. Please welcome the one and only Miss Melanie Charles. What's up, Mel?
Thank you, Christian. That was such a sweet introduction. Thank you.
Oh, of course. I haven't seen you in such a long time,
I know. I feel like I remember exactly the last time I saw you. We were at Dizzy's.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you were playing at Dizzy's. Maybe you were playing in the bigger hall and you were just like hanging afterwards. And I feel like you were in a two-piece suit. It was
Probably.
Like great. And I was like, you always styling. And we just catch up. It was brief, but I think of that moment because I think it was like before the pandemic when life was normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the pandemic, and I mean, you've been busy. First of all, you've been out here creating your off. Man, I'm so proud of you. Okay, let's get into it. Y'all don't really care about Black women.
Right.
Thank you. Like that, first of all, from that title, thank you. Like that is amazing. So let's get into it. Who is it directed towards, and what's the message behind it?
I mean, it's directed towards everyone. It's not, at first when I presented the title to my label, they were really scared. They're like, "That's not a friendly title," and I'm like, "I know, right?
Right? Yeah, right.
This is my reality. This is my day to day. Welcome to my life."
Right.
And so it's for everyone, but also it's for me and my peers and my fellow Black women to sort of like learn, like to create space to feel okay, to advocate for ourselves, to demand that people care for us and for us to care for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like I think about like my mom, I think about the women who paved the way for myself, the women who have been the backbone to a lot of the important male jazz musicians. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
Like who's caring for them? You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
That's like really a thing, So that's what it's also like a love letter to Black girls too, to sort of be like, sister, I see you. And a lot of women have come up to me and expressed that. And that really means the world to me. So
beautiful.
It's for everybody who will hear it.
Absolutely. And I salute that. When you talk about just strong Black females that have influenced you. And so, I mean, other than our mothers,
right.
I mean, I can think just on the piano, Jerry Allen, Mary Lou Williams, Hazel Scott. I mean, there's so many people that have come around and just, hey, I'm doing this and y'all have to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely.
Sorry.
It's okay. Talk about your song choices, because I mean, I love everything you bring to this. First of all, God Bless the Child. That arrangement is so killer. It reminds me, and I saw it in an interview and I was like, yes, I was right. It reminds me of Prince. It's got this Prince thing happening to it.
That's literally who I was channeling.
Okay, yes.
My kink is taking songs that we've heard 10,000 times, but doing it in a way that you would have never imagined.
Yeah.
And those changes that I put to God Bless the Child is changes for actually an original song of mine. And while I was working on God Bless the Child, I was like, I was doing something that wasn't really hitting for me. And I was like, I was playing the chords to my tune and it worked perfectly. And so I was like, okay, boom, this is it. And then when it comes to production, I don't know why, but Prince was really like standing out to me sonically, texturally. And I'm really, really proud of the way it turned out. I've like went through so many, you know how it is when you're producing a record, different like instrumentations. It was like, it's a big song and the arrangement was even bigger before. And then finally right down to the last minute of mixing, I cut out so many stuff and just like tried to keep the most important element.
Yeah.
And lastly, the fun part is doing that song live,
Oh yeah. Like, cause I haven't heard you do it yet, but I'm sure. And do you start the show out with that?
I don't start the show with that. I don't want to scare the people too
Right,
from.
man. Because when you okay, folks at home, if you haven't checked this out, you need to check this out. First of all, you got to check this record out because every song in there is amazing. But the first joint on that record, when you start, and also you're channeling Billy, of course, because the way you have the inflections, I see her on your shoulder right there. You know, like the way you have the inflection on it, and then you just go and you open, and the music in the is that Anwar playing?
Yes, it is
Come
Anwar
on,
Marsh.
I was like, that sounds. His snare
That's
drum
Anwar.
sounds familiar. I was
Right,
like, it
brother
sounds like Anwar,
Anwar.
Anwar
Yup, and
Marshall. You
Desron
know?
Douglas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I love Desron. I don't really get to play with him enough, but luckily I caught him in a good time, and he was able to
yeah,
record that with me. So I'm whatever. And
yeah,
Chadwick Mitchell on organ.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely, no, everything
and
about
Keith
it
Brown on
just
piano.
is Keith too. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, everybody on it. I mean, but from that first track all the way to the end, I mean, everything was just absolutely remarkable. And then you follow that up with Perdido, which is such a beautiful way to do that too. I mean, what I love about it is like you're using sampling, you're using these different ways of what we've heard already, and you're recycling it and you're using it in this really creative way. Can you talk about just your influence in doing that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up, I was very lucky. My mom would play jazz in the car driving me to school all the time. My mom is Haitian,
Yeah,
but she loved Black American music. She's like, even
yeah,
in Haiti, that's what she was listening to. She wasn't into compa like her other people, which is really
right,
interesting. I tease her. I say, Mom, I'm more Haitian than you, and I
right.
was born here. But in any case, so tunes like Perdido, God Bless Child, those were songs that were always like in my ear no
Yeah,
matter what.
yeah, yeah.
And something, I kind of call my whole concept like make jazz trill again. Like I'm really fascinated with the idea of like how can we bring jazz back to party music? Because there
Yeah,
was a time where people were jamming to that at house parties and like
absolutely.
twerking, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep,
the Lindy Hop,
1930s
the Lindy
twerking
Hop
next
was
to
their version of twerking was the Lindy Hop.
absolutely doing a Lindy Hop. Yeah, absolutely. All of
You
that
know?
next to Fats Waller, of course.
And
Absolutely.
then all of a sudden, the shift happened as we know, and
Yeah,
it has become the sit down thing, which I think that's important too. I'm no longer. When I was a little younger, I was like, oh, I reject the sit down venues. Da, da, da. No, I think there's a space for that.
absolutely.
But I'm really interested in finding a way to bring jazz to the people who wouldn't normally be into it. And so
Yeah,
that's how come the way in which I approach Perdido and a lot of the other songs is like, what are some sounds and feelings and like textures that
mm,
will translate to the everyday man? And actually, it's interesting because I was listening to this Errol Garner interview and he was talking about that, about how he was like, he's really interested in the everyday person tapping
yeah,
into music. And
yeah.
that really touched my heart. I was like, okay, Errol.
Oh yeah, he knew it. And and the beautiful thing about listening to the album and then also your live work, I heard you on NPR doing the Tiny Desk concert. I heard you on I think it's the SoFi series. I've been checking. I've been checking, because I was like, let me prepare for this because you have so many things. But what I love about it is just how malleable the music is for you.
Hmm.
As a creative, it's like you twist it, you turn it, it's almost like you take it and you literally have it in your hands and like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna deflower this deflower, by the way, you
Ooh,
know.
I like what you did there. Come
I
on.
mean, I mean, I try. I try. It's so I love how you do that. How you have so concept wise, like when you're looping something, like say Perdido and you're using, you know, Dinah and her voice and how there's certain parts where you loop it or certain parts where you like warp it or something like that. Like, can you talk about just is that something that you meant to do? Is that something that just happened just because of where the space was, or?
Well, the whole reason why I even got into looping is because I reached a point in my creativity where I wanted to not have to rely on a band,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
wanted to be able to go anywhere and just do my set, but still like it not feel stripped down, still
Mhm.
like have a full sound. And so I got into working with these SPs. The
Yeah.
one specifically that I really love is the 202 by Roland. They don't make it anymore. But it has the ability to change the pitch of any sample, but in a clean way. A lot of the more modern analog samplers, they kind of, the sound kind of gets warped when they change key. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
But the 202 is a clean modulation, and like the way in which you can delay things, filter things, it almost feels like another instrument.
Absolutely.
So I incorporate the samples as if it's like a keyboard line or a drum thing or a bass thing or my backup vocalist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
that's really how I interact with Dinah's voice or whoever I'm sampling.
Right.
It's
Right.
like it becoming a texture in the music
And
itself.
it's interesting because it in a way, for the listener anyway, it sounds very much like there is this background of Dinah, but then there's this
Right.
background of you, and you it's almost like you both share the same stage in a way. And it's such a beautiful thing to hear, because there's moments where I'm like, I think that's Dinah, but I'm not sure. Is that no, no, that's Mel. Nah, who is, and then you're harmonizing with each other, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't, all I know is I like it. Whoever it is, I love it, and so it's
But
really, really amazing.
it's also a spiritual thing. It's my way of
Yeah,
respects to them. You know what I mean? And
absolutely,
it's like
absolutely.
as I was shedding this music, I feel like there was like codes and like inside information and all of these songs and the way
Yeah,
in which these women are singing that I wanted to interact with them respectfully and sort of
yeah,
like allow their presence to be in the music throughout sonically somehow. So
absolutely. And I think you do that so well. I think you do it just amazingly. Let's talk about paying Black women. Come on. So
yeah.
talk to me about, and what I love about is that, and then you have Woman of the Ghetto. Like, just talk to me about those two tracks, because I love them.
Yeah, thank you. So the Pay Black Women, the music that you hear behind that is piece that I chopped up from my tiny desk, um,
Hmm.
which was also like really exciting for me, is like being able to sample myself
Yeah.
and sort of like reworking old material. And the conversations is an excerpt from a short film that I worked on called
Hmm.
Love Letter to Jazz Girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I sat down with four women of color of different artistic expressions and idioms, and we talked about all kinds of things, from love as a Black woman in the world to competition amongst Black women on the scene
Right. Right.
to not getting paid what we deserve.
Right.
And as I was working on the record, all of these tunes are these remix songs, but I wanted to insert a little bit of
Yeah.
really something that's truly my own expression. And
Yeah.
so that was a fun little interlude, and it came out pretty cool, chopping up those conversations that I had with my
Right.
homegirl.
Because I noticed, because I wasn't sure if you did the Tiny Desk concert first and then that,
Exactly.
because I love the both versions of it.
Thank
Both versions. The first one you do, where you have the spoken word in there, you have these little moments, but then the record version, where it is conversation. You're having this and I feel like I'm actually having this conversation, or listening, overhearing a conversation between Black women talking about,
you.
look, I'm
Yes.
tired of this. This needs to happen. This needs to happen.
Oh,
So like it's freaking ridiculous,
I
man.
have
So I love
goosebumps. I have goosebumps because that's literally what
it.
I wanted people to feel. Is like they're
Yeah.
on something that they really wouldn't normally be able to hear.
Right, right. No,
So
you did it. You
yeah,
did it. You did it well, And then Marlena Shaw's Women of the Ghetto, like, well, thank you first of all for bringing back Marlena, because that's important, and especially that record, with California Sun, like that's,
iconic
yeah,
record. She's an iconic
absolutely.
vocalist. She's someone to me that I really admire, because she spanned so many different genres, and was not. She didn't. Or so it seems like she didn't feel like she had to limit herself. And she's
Yeah.
actually one of the only women on the record that's still alive. And I'm trying to link up with her, but she's kind of hard to
Mm,
get a hold of.
yeah.
And also I was really excited about doing the remix because I'm an interview girl. I love doing my research and doing my homework.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
found this interview of her where they asked her how does she feel about people sampling her. And she said she
Yeah.
loves it. She said
Oh,
it makes her
good.
feel like she's the sun and like all these plants are like growing under her.
Oh, that's
And I was
beautiful.
like, come on, Marianne, that's so sweet.
Oh,
So but Christian, yo, it's so funny because when I perform Women of the Ghetto live, I do call and response, and I make
yeah.
the people say, "I am a woman of the ghetto," and like I'd be like, "I want everybody to sing it, even you," and it'll be like a bald
Absolutely.
white man or something, and
Oh,
they be
yeah.
singing loud. They be singing loud.
He's a woman of the ghetto. He's a woman of the ghetto for sure. But see, that's what you want. You know, the thing is, as a performer, I mean, that you get that high, but it's also about the message. It's
Yeah.
about empowerment. It's about
Yeah.
female. It's about human empowerment, but it's about
Human-
female empowerment and specifically Black women empowerment. You know, while I was checking this out, I ran into this Forbes magazine. This old form, which I actually had from August 2020, and it was what I loved about it. On the front, it was when Black women lead, we all win, right?
Ooh.
And so, of course, I got to check it out. And I was talking about 10 Black women that you must know, and all these things. And
Mhm.
there was a quote, Shirley Chisholm, shout out Shirley Chisholm. The quote, and I had to write them down too. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair.
Ooh.
Right? And then another one, this beautiful sister. She's an author. I actually checked out her podcast, Rants and Randomness. She also had the TED Talk, which I actually saw before I knew she was on this. Lovey Ajayi Jones, really incredible, really
Say
incredible.
her name again.
Lovey Ajayi Jones.
Ooh.
I'll send it to you. Like, she's amazing. Everybody needs to check her out. She has these amazing TED Talks. And she had this quote that said, a lot of Black womanhood, I had to write this down, a lot of Black womanhood is based on multiple forms of oppression. And because of that, we are more empathetic than a lot of other groups. Those who have been trampled upon are the ones who know how to lead best without having somebody else's head stepped on. Right? And so just being immersed in this, thinking about the Black woman that raised me, thinking about my mother, thinking about my aunts, thinking about my friends, thinking about the artists that raised me, thinking about the sounds like, Jerry Allen, Mary Lou Williams, these people that have raised me in this sound, Nancy Wilson, and then thinking about you and the music. All of it is just important for history. All of it's important for everybody. So when you're talking about this white man singing, I'm the woman of the ghetto, like I applaud that. That's what you want, and that's what it's all about. So I'm so happy about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about the early days. Let's talk about, I know you're from New York.
Yep.
And I know you went to LaGuardia High School, these prestigious LaGuardia High School, yeah. And talk about just your upbringing, like what were your early influences? I know you were a tap dancer. I know you did everything, first of all. I know you did everything.
Goodbye. He said,
I know you did everything. Tap dance. I know you did a little this, little that. You played trumpet too, didn't you?
Christian, you capping now. No, okay. Yeah, I was an art girl, and
absolutely.
My mom is sort of, I guess, what people would call a stage mom, but I wanted it, so it's not like she was like pushing.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay.
I didn't want to do.
Okay. Right.
She really supported me to do all things, and she always put me in like the best music schools and like programs. There's a choir who's still like they're when you want a youth choir to sing with Beyonce, you go to Brooklyn Youth Chorus. And that's the choir that my mom found. They're based out in Brooklyn Heights, and we live in Bushwick. So imagine a little Haitian immigrant woman trying to find a place for her daughter to sing and be cultured and immersed in like that we can't find in the hood. I love my mom for that. And I grew up in the church, so that's another thing. The church organist started giving me vocal lessons, piano lessons first, and then vocal lessons. And in LaGuardia, I was a flute major, and I did a lot of off-Broadway work. I'm also a theater girl too.
Right. And you did a little opera too, right?
I did opera. I thought I was going to be an opera singer, and then that got derailed, thank God. But I was talking to someone the other day. She's a wonderful vocalist at MSM. We talked about how we're glad that we had our classical training, because that allows us to be able to use our voices very freely. So when you talk about how I twist and turn stuff, I'm really grateful for my training. That's what allows me to do whatever I want vocally. But I'm glad I stopped right where I did, so that I don't have that like opera thing.
Was there a aria that you really liked to sing?
I used to sing the Queen of the Night aria. Mozart.
Ooh, yeah. Come on. Oh, that part.
hard song. That song is what basically helped me get into college, pay for college. Because even though I was a jazz vocalist at the new school, whenever I would sing the Queen of the Night aria for competitions, I would
Yeah.
always win because that's like a crazy, like who sings that song?
Yeah, like the jumps in
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
ridiculous. So I thank my vocal teacher, and her name is Nikenji Simpson Hoffman. I thank her
Mm.
for training me to be able to sing that
Oh,
song.
beautiful. Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Mackenzie. Absolutely, because
Yeah.
that's yeah, absolutely. Oh man, have you ever seen? Just a side note. Have you ever heard of Florence Foster Jenkins?
No.
Okay, just look her up. She has a version of this. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but just look it up. You
Of
know,
she has a version of what? You're not
of
gonna
of of Queen of the Night.
Good
Yeah,
night?
absolutely. Just watch it. Also, Meryl Streep did a movie about her as well. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank
Audience at home, that's all I'm gonna say.
you.
Enjoy
Okay.
yourself.
Thank you. You dropping a
Yeah.
lot of gems. Thank you,
Oh
Christian.
yeah. So speaking of all of these influences, let's talk about your mother. Let's talk about your influence with Haiti. You know,
Yeah.
let's talk about the choice of female singers that you've chosen from the repertoire. You know, I know just your mother. You said being an immigrant. You
Mhm.
know, being an immigrant Haitian woman is a lot in New York City. So please tell me about her.
Yeah, my mom is really fascinating. Actually, she's been working on an album. She's not a professional musician or anything,
Yeah.
but she is an incredible songwriter and lyricist. And so she's working on an album called All This Music in My Head, where she
Mm.
literally sings every single line to all the musicians, and they literally play it, and it turns out like really beautifully.
Oh, beautiful.
And my mom is like she was very like old school Haitian, but also liberal in ways. Like she was taking me to Saint Nick's pub, back in the day
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like there'd be musicians walking down the street with a guitar in their back, whatever, and she'd stop them and have them come into the house to jam with me and my brother.
Oh, that's cool.
Like
Wow.
that's oh, it was
Yeah.
wild.
So your mother knew. She knew that this is going to be for her kids. Absolutely.
Yes. And but the interesting thing is that, like I said, she wasn't really into Haitian music. For some reason, she
Yeah.
felt like repetitive. It wasn't her taste. So
Yeah.
my journey to exploring my culture via Haitian music was like my own thing, which I think is was really exciting for me.
Yeah.
Digging into the traditional folk songs, and the voodoo music and art has been really, it's a constant journey. It's so much for me to learn. It's so
Yeah.
each song has a meaning, has a rhythm connected to it, has a color connected to it, has a drum
Absolutely.
connected to it. It
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
so heavy. And I was blessed to be able to go to Haiti a few times and spend time with my family. I also went once with Godwin. I know you know Godwin Louis.
Of course. Of
He has
course.
a beautiful program called Experience IET, where he
Yeah.
brings us Haitian Americans and anyone else who's interested to go back to Haiti, bring instruments, do master classes, and learn from the culture. So I'm really proud. We've had Haiti's history is so complex, as everyone who's watching knows, but there's so much beauty and resilience
Absolutely.
and art, like everywhere you look. These people, the way that they think about things to problem solve is so fascinating. And that's another thing that I'm glad that I'm Haitian, because I feel like the way I've been able to like create my little career, my little path, is because that my Haitian blood of like just doing stuff weird but cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh no, I definitely have to say that because like literally everyone that I know that's Haitian, like Godwin Louis, John Michel, like this people where they put things together, you're like, "Huh, man, I wouldn't have did that. That's killing, you know. And
It's
so the fact that you say that makes so much sense. Even just how you put the music together, it's so Haitian based, which is such a beautiful thing. Sarah Charles was another person who I grew
Charles.
up with.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like man, how'd you? Okay, you put it
Yeah.
together that way. That's hip. So shout out to all the Haitian musicians in the world. Come on, yeah.
So your people are from the South, Christian?
Yeah, my people are from the South. Well, from all over. I just found out like we have some roots in Cape Verde too. So we just got that.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
was about to say, every time I see, I always feel like an island boy energy. So there you go.
I mean, I like the sun and I like
Yes.
the heat,
There you go.
Absolutely. I like all that stuff, and I definitely like lime beef for sure. So, hey.
Woo!
So, let's talk about. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I know we don't have a lot of time. Let's talk about again, like I said before, the choices of female singers. You have Abby Lincoln, you have Ella Fitzgerald, you have Billie Holiday, you have Betty Carter, to name a few. Why these individuals?
So, because I feel like those specific individuals were the most artist of
Hmm.
the jazz vocalists that we have. Like
Hmm.
those women were women who really took charge of their career and the types of music that they did and the ways in which they performed them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Betty Carter is like the mother of jazz, really. Like when you think about it, like even as time goes by, I'm like, dang, like
Yeah.
a lot of important musicians that are still alive today like went through her school, of thought, of practice, of
Absolutely. A
you know what I mean,
performance.
of
Absolutely.
performance,
Dynamics. All that. Yeah.
dynamics. I mean, she really is fascinating, and I regret that I didn't get to study her earlier. Like when I was in new school,
Mm.
I was listening to Ella and Sarah, who are killing,
Right. Right.
but Betty is like that deeper, like I mean, and
Betty's hood with it.
yo,
And that's the only way to say it. It's just this raw energy within it, And yeah, absolutely.
so that it was important for me to do a tune of hers that she has made her own, and then also like Abby Lincoln as a songwriter,
Yes.
is also something that I think is really huge. That if you want to focus more on the jazz idiom, it's not too many jazz vocalists who pen their own tunes. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
So I really loved and respected that, and I wanted her voice in there. And Billie Holiday, like, how can you not have a Billie presence on a remix album? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that song, she wrote that song for her mom, about her mom. She was having a little
Mm.
fight with her mom. They were beefing, and she
Mm.
wrote that
Okay.
song. And when I read that, I was like, aha,
That makes so much sense now
that,
you said that.
you
Wow.
know. And Dinah, Betty is hood with it, but Dinah also was
Yeah.
very trill, very real.
Yeah.
There's not many videos of her, but when you would see her, she would have like a totally different wig on. Apparently, apparently,
Love it.
apparently she would tell people off quick, like with the ease, but vocally she's so much class and
Yeah,
finesse.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So all of these women, I chose them. Yes, the music, their voices, their songs, but also like their stories were all stories that really resonated with me, and
Yeah.
that's why I chose those.
Yeah, and I can hear that coming through the music, the way you use them, the way you use the loops, the way you use their voice, like I love listening to how you introduce a song with someone and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it this way. And it still connects, it doesn't sound like, because it could easily sound like if it was anybody else, it could easily sound really hokey or easily sound like, okay, a cut and paste, but
Right.
the way you do it sounds so like this is how it was supposed to go. Like it's a full composition, so it's so dope. Let's talk about Trill because, and I know I have to let you go, but Make Jazz Trill Again,
Yes.
that podcast with Uni Mohican.
Yes.
Shout out to Uni, that's my girl.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about just well, first of all, for listeners and for people that are checking it out,
Mhm.
what is Trill? Number one, what is that?
Trill has many meanings, but
Yes.
and it varies every day. But everyday term trill is for the streets. It's the people. It's what I mean, street culture.
Yeah.
There's trills in Baroque music as well.
Yes. Yes.
you know.
I see that.
So I have really connected with that term and like sort of like make jazz trill again, make it real again, bring it back to the people
Yeah.
again. And so I realized that like after naming this album, y'all don't really care about Black women and like making such a strong statement that it's important for me to create spaces for my fellow sister to talk and be heard and like
Hmm.
people who may not have opportunities to be spotlighted, to be heard
Yeah.
in this space. And I'm creative and all that stuff, but I'm not good at organizing and stuff. And Uni is like a master,
Love Uni.
but is also
Yeah.
an incredible musician and songwriter,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and she's so immersed in the jazz community. Like she's really created space for so many of our peers and friends to do the
Absolutely.
Jazz on Lincoln Center space.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm trying to do this podcast, girl. I don't know. And she was like, I got you. And so we did our first pilot episode. It was with Winter Jazz Fest. They like sponsored us and like helped us tape it somewhere and get it captured really beautifully. But yeah, and that was really beautiful. And then so yes, we went on to do one with Kiana. We did one with China Moses. We did one
Yeah.
with Harmony Holiday. Which since you're into, do you know of Harmony Holiday?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
I
really?
haven't checked it out yet, but it was up next, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna check that out.
Being that you're into write like literature and stuff, she is a fascinating writer and poet, and she's working on a book on Abby Lincoln. And so we were able to
Ooh,
speak with
yeah.
her. And so yeah, I think we only have like 2, maybe 3 episodes out. We're still working. We trying to get to your level though, Christian, because
Oh, see.
Sandbox is popping. I was like,
Well, you know, that's what we do. We are for the people over here too. We definitely have to say a special shout out to Monterey Jazz Festival for allowing this all to happen as well. You know, and well, the last thing I want to ask you about is just you. How do you feel about where you are? Where are you trying to get to? What's next for you?
that's an interesting question. I'm proud of myself for getting this far. I've
Mm,
wanted to quit so many times,
mm,
and I'm glad that I didn't quit. But I realized that there's always dues you have to pay. I think a little younger, I was like, "Oh, when I'm done paying my dues, I'm be okay." It's like, nah, it's just more dues. you
right.
know,
It's, dudes don't stop.
dues don't stop.
Hmm.
So now it's interesting, where I am now to see the next level of dues that
Yeah.
are and it's like a lot of opportunities are coming my way. I'm so grateful. I'm getting to perform in the festival, like North Sea Jazz. Like
Yeah.
what you know but the stakes are higher, and like things have to be done a certain way, and like now is really the time to show that I can be consistent, and now that things are becoming bigger and more exciting, and
Yeah.
more visibility, and also like remaining true to like myself and not allowing myself to get distracted. I'm a yogi, I'm a Buddhist, like
Yeah.
I have my little basketball team with my homegirls that we play
I was
ball.
gonna ask you about them. The
Yeah.
Globetrotters. I was gonna ask you about the Globetrotters. Yeah, because I see you post a couple of videos of you. What was it? Post you were shooting from you shoot from three. You were doing some 3-point shots. Yeah. All right.
No, actually, I really suck at basketball, but beautiful because it's okay. And like as musicians who are high achievers, I think we always are trying to execute and be perfect and be great and be killing, and
Right.
basketball is a space where, for me at least, it's okay to mess up. But I'm also looking at it, I'm sort of like studying the correlation between basketball and jazz. That's going to be fun
Mm.
for interview. We got to talk about
Oh
that
yeah,
in
we gotta talk about that for sure.
but that's really a deep thing that I've been really loving, is seeing the correlation between the two of us.
Beautiful. Last thing, what do you have to say for young Black women that are trying to do this, that are trying to be artists, that are trying to be singers, and just in general?
Mm. Well, if you're an artist, if you're a singer, I would say invest time in tapping into your truth.
Mm.
Make sure you hear what your teachers and your mentors are saying, because they've been here, they've done that, and they do have wisdom that you may not have. But at the end of the day, trust that inner voice, because you are that seed is already planted in you.
Mm.
And I think for all women, or especially women of color, I would encourage us to take time to care for ourselves, to allow people to care for us, to ask for help, to articulate when we're not okay. It's totally fine. And I'm proud of us. We
Yeah.
still standing, we still pushing, we're resilient, we're beautiful, and we got this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. You are beautiful. I'm so happy to call you friend. I am happy to see where you become and the things that you're doing. And I just can't wait to see what else happens. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me.